It's really unusual to see Penn State and Michigan State in the exact same situation. They might even have more in common if Sparty decides to hire James Franklin.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, and we are. That's right. Well, both of us are looking for their first Big Ten win of this football season. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in to Locked On Spartans and Locked On Nittany Lions, part of not just the Locked On Podcast Network, but the #1 ranked sports podcasting network. Please rate, review, subscribe to both of these shows if you want. And guys, if you're here, genuinely, thank you from the bottom of both of our hearts because hey, it's not just Michigan State fans wondering why they're still continuing to listen about this football program in the midst of another lost season. We have company here with, against all odds, Penn State fans. So, Zach, hi. How are you doing?
How's it going? Yeah.
It's going awesome. Life's never been better over here.
We can relate.
Why is this game on 3:30 on a national spotlight channel such as CBS?
Land Grant Trophy. It's the Land Grant Trophy. Sorry. Everybody wants the Land Grant Trophy.
That's on me. I forgot.
It says nature intended. This is. I was not surprised in the slightest. I'm embarrassed. I'm going to edit this part out because I did forget there is a trophy at stake here this upcoming Saturday. We're going to talk about that game in segments 2, maybe a little bit of segment 3 coming up, guys. But right off the rip here, and this is an odd conversation to have for Michigan State fans because Jonathan Smith is still gainfully employed. Like he is still collecting paychecks from Michigan State. He will be on the sidelines, not just this weekend, but probably the next few weekends on the season. But that hasn't stopped us Michigan State fans from thinking about what's next. I think I speak for the majority where I say, Zach, that us State fans are ready, not even at the end of 2 years in, to just cut bait and let's move on to the next chapter here. Now, when I look for the next chapter, I've been saying that James Franklin, while I was very dismissive of it at first, that's kind of the golden ticket, I think. He recruits Detroit very well. He can establish a culture. Well, it can be corny, of course. Hey, I'll take any semblance of any culture here at Michigan State. And the guy gets results. Oh, he's got a big game problem that he had at Penn State. My God, I would hope to have a big game problem one day here in East Lansing. Zach, it's been tough here the last few years. So it's nice to talk to you as always, but it's really nice to talk to you for this topic of conversation. Sell me or don't sell me on why James Franklin would be a good get here at Michigan State. I mean, that was one of the first destinations that I suggested because all of the steam is around Virginia Tech. And I said, well, I don't know that James Franklin's ego and his agent are going to let him settle in the ACC or the Big 12. They believe that he is a Big 10 or an SEC head coach. So he is playing the waiting game. If Virginia Tech is ponying up all the resources, so be it. That's great. That gives him leverage for what, 3 to 5 years max? He's absolutely getting back. He wants to be back in a Power 2 conference. So if I was saying, hey, he's probably playing the waiting game to get a call from Florida, Auburn, or LSU, or maybe he's waiting for Michigan State to open up because I've been hearing passively, hey, and checking in on your show periodically, Jonathan Smith is not the answer. Okay, well, if James Franklin's a free agent, he would elevate Michigan State. He recruits Michigan well. Detroit in particular. I think that Michigan, the Wolverines, just need some pushback. Michigan State, why Michigan and Jim Harbaugh struggled the way that they did early in his tenure was because Michigan State was actually a force to be reckoned with. They had to go up in recruiting battles. Now Michigan can just kind of do whatever it wants. It doesn't have to worry about Michigan State. If James Franklin dropped down in East Lansing, Michigan would have a threat.
Let me know what it is like, though, being in this coaching pool right now, because you guys got in early. You guys made the first cannonball, and then, okay, well, here comes Florida. Here comes Auburn, Arkansas. Oh my, and that's, one of the, I guess, pushbacks from the fan base that we get from the people that do want to see Jonathan Smith come back. There is a minority, but they are a vocal minority, of course, that are saying, well, let's not get it in it this cycle because it's just way too crowded, too many other big jobs out there. But for one of the bigger jobs, obviously the Penn State job, what is it like just following all of this? Are things still looking like they're going to go according to plan? Are guys re-upping at their contracts like Matt Rule, for example?
Is that kind of making you think like, oh, yeah, what's going on here? Or scare me or not scare me with like having my team in this coaching carousel, Zach?
I mean, you saw what Wisconsin did, right, with Luke Fickell, and they're
Yeah.
going to up the resources and everything. Because I think Luke Fickell's still a really good coach. I think Wisconsin is the problem. I think there's systematic issues. But would I advise Michigan State to get in this coaching search now? You might have missed the window of opportunity. Let me speak transparently there. Penn State has been at this for almost a month now. I think maybe it's crossed the 30-day threshold. So now you're 30 days behind a program that, objectively, I'm not trying to dunk on Michigan State, is objectively more appealing than Michigan State. And then you got to go up against LSU. Then you got to go up against Auburn. You got to go up against Florida and Arkansas, Oklahoma State. Who knows who else is going to make a decision here, right? And then if coaches are hired away from other programs, then you're competing with, okay, maybe a Georgia Tech, maybe a South Florida. And I think Michigan State is better than both of those programs, but you still have to, you just have to throw punches against them. And do you want to do that when you don't have as much leverage? Because I think Jonathan Smith is a great coach, but it just might not be working in East Lansing at the end of the day, because he was doing really well at Oregon State. But it's you have to find your ideal setup, because it's not a one size fits all for a coach to land in Happy Valley. There are certain coaches that I do not want coaching at Penn State because I know they would be a mismatch.
Okay.
And then, so with that being said, you might want to take the Wisconsin route or go after James Franklin. That's really the time. It's either now or never. There's no, well, let me think about it, let me get back to you in 2 weeks type of thing. If you want James Franklin, he's there. He would like to get back in the Big Ten. I can tell you that much. He doesn't want to be in the ACC. He'll take the Virginia Tech job if he has to, because it will allow him to leapfrog back into the Big Ten or the SEC.
We'll see what route Michigan State ends up going. And we had this conversation not too long ago on my show that maybe they do this whole thing where they bring Jonathan Smith back. He has to get rid of a few assistants, but they're going to pledge more money for transfer portal, recruiting, whatever it is in the NIL pool. Which is all fun and well, but we're seeing less talented rosters do more in the Big Ten than Michigan State is. Like, yeah, sure, it isn't the greatest roster here in East Lansing, but tell me why you're not even competitive at the end of the game against Michigan. Like, tell me why Northwestern is one game away from a bowl. Surely they're not swimming in NIL money. Like, I mean, why is Purdue looking a lot more competitive against Michigan on the road than we did in our home stadium? Like, lack of roster talent can't be the excuse for every single thing here. Like, I need to see some sort of identity. I need to see some sort of culture. I need to see, like, call me a crazy fan here, just a shred of improvement from the first year, when everything says we're going the other way on both sides of the ball, and recruiting and culture and identity. So that's why, like, sure, let's just throw money, say, hey, go ahead and ball out and get yourself a nice roster. Would it even help? I don't know. So look, before we actually talk about this game against all odds, I can't believe we're going to do it, but we are going to talk about this game. Who's a golden ticket for you guys? I mean, surely, I mean, I'm going to assume you've talked about this on your show maybe once or twice.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
What do you got, though?
I mean, the golden ticket is Mike Elko at Texas A&M. He's a New Jersey native. He graduated from University of Pennsylvania. Under the circumstances, I imagine that's his dream job. I mean, Texas A&M has given him everything he could ask for. But if he wasn't at Texas A&M, I think he would be Penn State's head coach. Okay, bottom line. There was interest in Kalen DeBoer initially. Reciprocated interest, right? That maybe not everything's perfect in Alabama, but winning cures everything. So
sure does, yeah.
You kind of have to so you have to reset your expectations here. So Penn State's been targeting Brent Key at Georgia Tech, Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, Alex Golesh of South Florida. And this conversation's so fluid, Matt, that day by day there is a different candidate that's emerging. Here's where I stand right now in the situation. I didn't name Brian Hartline because that's who I was saving the best for last. I would like a candidate for Penn State that gives you something that hasn't been had since James Franklin took over a decade plus ago. Brian Hartline gives you that. Oh, well, he doesn't have any head coaching experience. Okay. But he has the player development. He has the connections. He has the recruiting ability. Well, James Franklin could recruit too, not to the extent that Brian Hartline can. And I get it. It's at Ohio State. So you might not get the next iteration of Jeremiah Smith, but what about the guy after him? What about the guy after him? that's all a major step up than what Penn State was doing. Again, I think back to, let me incorporate Michigan State into this, Nick Marsh. That should have been a recruitment that Penn State should have won because of all its receivers, all of its issues at wide receiver, that, hey, you can solve our issues right out of the gate as a true freshman. I'm going to still opt for Michigan State. Okay, so that is how talented. I'm tired of the mediocrity at quarterback and wide receiver, so I want to see somebody that just does something different. So my top two, as it continues to change on a day-by-day basis, Mike Elko's the grand slam. If you can get him, if you have to wait, I would. I'm okay with, because you have the transfer portal, so I'm okay with compromising a recruiting class. It'll be okay, I promise. But if you can't get him at all against all the odds, then Brian Hartline or Alex Golesh, because they're going to be offensive minded, I would like one of those two as candidates. But Brent Key wouldn't be a bad hire. Eli Drinkwitz wouldn't be a bad hire.
Right.
Just there are better ones.
Let's talk about this game again. National spotlight. No one's going to miss this one. 3:30 on Saturday with the Land Grant Trophy. That's right. Granddaddy of them all. Zach, look, I've said it a few times. We're each both looking for our first Big Ten win. Bowl game hopes are still in line, still at stake for both of our teams here. You guys obviously have the easier route of the two teams. You guys are favored by 6.5 points this upcoming game. Then you face Nebraska at home, and then it's Rutgers to end the season for you. Whereas we get by Penn State, okay, we got to hit the road to Iowa. Yikes. And then Maryland, who cares what they're even going to look like? That game's going to be at Ford Field. Let me just ask this question, though, Zach. This is a pretty blunt question. You care.
And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot and an even bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And if you look over at FanDuel right now, lines are available for Penn State versus Michigan State. Penn State is a 6.5 point favorite, minus 265 on the money line, plus 215 if you're thinking Michigan State. The total is set at 50.5. If you like those lines, you can bet them over at FanDuel.com. And remember, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Like, do you care about making a bowl game? Do Penn State fans care about making a bowl game? Like, this would be a streak of, I believe if I did this correctly, 11 straight years of making a bowl game. Obviously, the COVID year, I'm not going to count that one. Or are you guys just, like, not even caring if this team even makes the Game Above Sports Bowl or the Duke's Mayo Bowl or what have you? Or are you just, like, so done with this season that I don't care if they win the last three?
I mean, I'll be doing a little bit of scouting, right? What players... Here's the thing with the bowl game. So it's kind of trying to gauge, is this team going to be, even a semblance of what it is this season? And probably for better, it shouldn't be, right? You're having all of the seniors move on. This was a very senior-laden team. They're all going off to the NFL, or they're going to try, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to lose a ton of veteran players. And then when the transfer portal opens up, I think a lot of people are going to follow James Franklin, go home if they were, because there are prospects that are players that are from the state of Florida, from the southeast part of the country, that there's no, they came up here because of James Franklin and this staff. So if this staff is not relatively intact, they're probably going to go home. They're probably going to go somewhere else. And there's no name that I think would shock me at the end of the day. Okay? From the current starting quarterback in Ethan Grunkemeyer, to Tony Rojas, the star linebacker. Okay, Manny Diaz was his guy. That's a big reason why he came to Penn State. Could he end up at Duke? Maybe. He might. So that is my point. And then what does that mean for, well, if my teammate's leaving, then I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do what's best for me. And as Penn State waits day by day, you sacrifice on that recruiting class. You sacrifice on trying to retain what you have presently, because there are good players. I'm not saying, Penn State, the entire roster should be gutted. No, you want Tony Rojas back. You want Amari Campbell back. You want guys like Xavier Gilliam back, for example, but you also want to build off of that foundation of the roster by bringing in complementary players and guys to continue to fill out the lineup. Whatever coach Penn State hires, especially if it's from another program, is going to bring in his roster, his coaching staff. So since this team is going to look so comprehensively different going into next season, it is... I'm personally invested because I like covering the team. I like following the team for better or for worse. In terms of, if you want me to answer about a bowl game, I mean, I'm not interested in a bowl game because this team might not have a roster by the time they get to that bowl game. And what's the point?
A problem. Yeah,
what's the point of playing an extra game? What's the point of playing an extra game if you know that you're leaving? It just kind of, it does more harm than it does good for anybody. So even if Penn State is eligible for a bowl, I don't blame them if they, but it starts by beating Michigan State, right? That's not a guarantee just because they're a touchdown favorite. Right. Michigan State's had the bye week to prepare. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, and Penn State's in another letdown spot. They're after the high of almost beating Indiana and coming up short once again against an elite team, and you got to go on the road against Michigan State. You don't want to play. You don't feel like it. So I have my doubts about this game for Penn State. I really do.
There are a lot of factors that are just not even on the field. Just like you said, the emotional letdown spot for Penn State, the bye week for Michigan State, and this is also Michigan State's last game at Spartan Stadium of the year. Now, how much juice that adds to the locker room, that's to be determined here, but it is a storyline here. So we'll see what kind of Michigan State team you get. It's a defense that has, despite being the worst scoring defense in the Big Ten statistically, they have shown a little bit of improvement lately. Ever since Joe Rossi has come down from the booth, he's on the sideline, he's injecting some energy, but is it still enough? I have my doubts. I don't expect Michigan State to win this game, but I will be keyed in on our quarterback situation because Alessio Milavojevic, my goodness gracious, did he look dynamite in his first career start on the road against a Minnesota front seven. And look, that's not a great Minnesota team, but if not for nothing else, their front seven on defense, they were good on paper going into the game, and 6 first half sacks later, they certainly looked pretty good to Alessio Milavojevic.
He gave you something.
He was getting pounded routinely throughout the first half, but he still stuck in there, was working his way through throws. He showed some grit, tenacity, some accuracy. He was really solid in his first career start. So how's it going to look? Once again, the book is a little bit more out on you. And also Penn State, for all the struggles that you guys have had this season, no one's going to knock the talent level. And that's all it takes to beat this Michigan State offensive
line. Is he mobile? Is he mobile?
Ish.
All right, then that's a problem for Penn State's defense.
Oh, shoot, even an ish? Oh, man.
Even an ish.
Bummer. Well, actually, that's great for us. But, they tried to have him on a run play 2 weeks ago, I should say. It got blown up. It didn't work. So, look, Aiden Childs is the more agile of the two. Stratham Smith isn't committing to a quarterback, at least at the time of recording. He is not committed to a quarterback. It would be absurd to go back to Aiden Childs, especially after Alessio just dropped north of 300 yards. But, yeah, that's the one thing I'm looking for, because whether it is Smith next year, whether it's not, maybe Alessio sticks around, and, hey, that's going to be appealing for whoever the next head coach is, that, okay, I have a plug-in and day one starter quarterback. That just knocks one thing off my big checklist. So, yeah, outside of that, anything else is a distant second to what I'm going to be watching for this Saturday, specifically when it comes to Michigan State. All eyes on Alessio Milavojevic. Your quarterback situation, though, Grunkemeyer, not bad. Right? Or am I crazy? I was going to say, he looks solid.
So you have to look at the resume that he's going up against. He went up against the top 5 defense in Iowa on the road in his first career start.
Right.
Top 2, conservatively. That's the number 1 defense by some metrics. Top 2, no lower than top 2 Ohio State defense on the road. And then you face a top 3 Indiana team and a defense that is top 10 by some metrics as well. Yeah. And you saw significant improvement. You see things that even Drew Aller didn't have in year 4.
Okay.
Grunkemeyer isn't antsy in the pocket. I feel like when things would break down, Drew would try to extend the player. He'd cash out. He said, "I'm out of here. I'm done. I got to move." Okay, and his pocket mobility was pretty solid for someone who was a bigger quarterback, someone who had a larger stature and doesn't, move as well on a straight line. But Grunk, he'll stand there, he'll go through his reads, he'll stick with a read, he'll stick with his primary read and then say, it's not there. His internal clock, I think, is really good. He's making mistakes that a first-time starter would make. But again, it's against Iowa, Ohio State, and Indiana. And they weren't these egregious mistakes. They were, hey, this is a rookie QB situation, okay, against elite teams. So I can only imagine what he's going to look like in start 4. And now that he has 2 road starts under his belt against top 5 defenses, Michigan State better bring their A game or this offense will actually take a step forward, a significant step forward. I would want Grunk. I would be okay unless there's a better quarterback out there that would, like a Marcel Reed. I don't know his eligibility, but a Marcel Reed and Mike Elko, dynamic duo package, right? That's a different setup. But you make a great point with Michigan State's situation that, hey, you have a plug-and-play QB. Penn State has the exact same thing with Grunkemeyer for next season. That is appealing for, if you don't want to go and try to recruit a quarterback you've never worked with, see if you can convince the guy that's already at Penn State and doesn't need to enter the portal at all.
Even if this is going to be so negative, MSU fans are not going to like this. Even if we do show up with our A game on defense, still fully expect to give up 24 points minimum. Like I know
it's been rough.
I'm so beaten and battered, man. Like I like our defensive coordinator Joe Rossi. Like
Penn State did too. Penn State did too.
You get it. Like you see the guy come in with different ideas, different strategies every single week. Okay, we're going to go blitz heavy this week. Okay, we're going to do exotic blitzes this week. We're not going to blitz it all this week. Like, my man is trying everything, but sometimes it is just the Jimmies and Joes on the field, and that's where I'm at for at least the defensive side. For the defensive side, I think it is. As mean as it is to say, but just bluntly, that's what we've come down to. So
I mean, three interceptions against with an aggressive Rossi defense, that's kind of telling to me.
It's almost literally, by definition of the word, unbelievable to have that few interceptions. Even just any defense, period, even if you're just running base stuff the entire season, crazy to have 3 interceptions. I literally can't even remember the last interception, Zach. That's how long it's been. So I was going to say, hey, what's the biggest weakness you guys have? I'm taking the easy way out. I'm being a coward. I'm just painting it. The entire defensive side of the ball, but if I had to go just one specific position group, I'm actually going to – there's one that's struggling more than the whole entirety of the defense, and it is our offensive line, who almost got Alessio murdered last week, and then we can't even run the ball more than 2 yards per carry since, the Youngstown game, it feels like. So, Zach, what's been paining you over there? What's the big struggle for Penn State that can give us Michigan State fans something to smile about as they drive up to the game this weekend?
Today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today, see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Do you need parts fast for a project? Well, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. A mobile-ish quarterback. And maybe it would benefit Michigan State to run. Andy Kotelnicki's going to love this, but he's not going to like that I'm saying it for the enemy. Okay. Michigan State should run a 2-quarterback system. Aiden Childs, since he offers so much upside as a runner, as a mobile quarterback, but he can also throw. Mm-hmm. So if you sell out for him and his legs, he'll just hit a pass over the top. So if you really want to get strategic, use some chess, Jonathan Smith, I think, should use both quarterbacks rather than we're just going to bench one. Because then Penn State has to game plan for both. Penn State has to waste time, and it's not time wasted. Let me rephrase, but Penn State has to deviate time to game plan for both when they don't know about just one. So Michigan State actually kind of somewhat has the upper hand here. And again, you have a bye week. You have 2 weeks to perfect it as best as you can, make it better with, hey, we're going to design specialty packages for Childs to come in where Penn State's not going to know. It's going to be a curveball, and it's been their kryptonite for this defense. If Michigan State's defense has trouble, I do think this is going to be more likely to be a shootout, depending on what the weather is. I don't know the weather off the top of my head here, but if the weather is fine, if there's no inclement weather, this could be a game that has a lot of points because both defenses just struggle with the concepts that stopping stuff for Michigan State, but for Penn State, those mobile quarterbacks and an offense that can find some semblance of a run game. So
I'm going to play it pretty close to what the spread is here for my prediction for this game. I'm going to go, and we're going to do like a crooked number here. 29 for Penn State, and we're going to go 22 for Michigan State here. Now, how both these teams find that number on the scoreboard, I got no idea, but two crooked numbers only seem right for a matchup like this, where a whole lot of nothing and just nothing but oddities have happened for both of our teams all season. Let's just get nuts. 29-22 Penn State. That's my guess. Zach, where are you at, man? I mean, Penn State victory for you, or are you going to keep this one a little closer, you think?
Well, that 7.5 is going to be key, right? If we're talking about the actual numbers of it, and trying to look at this in a sharp way. So with the number moving from because it opened up at 7.5, and then it moves down to 6.5 for Penn State. I mean, that's a key number. I can see this being a 4-point game. I expect points. I'm expecting Penn State's offense. I think the first team that gets to 30 does win. Okay, so something 31-24. I'm going to say 31-27, maybe 31-28. I'd like to think Penn State because, again, if the offense, so Jim Knowles' defense, if Michigan State, I'm speaking a lot of hypotheticals. Oh, this is what they should do. This is what they could do. Well, if they don't do it, then that's going to help Penn State. If they don't run a 2 QB setup, if they don't maximize Aiden Childs as a running quarterback, then that's just going to play into Penn State's favor. And I don't know what they're thinking. So I'm going to err on the side of they probably won't do that, but they'll still be able to get points because Penn State's defense has just been, struggling as it is. Yeah. But I do think the offense gives them enough to finally get a win. The bye week's certainly going to help Michigan State. I will go 31-27. I am more confident in the over than I am the spread because I could see this game being 31-20. I do like Penn State to win, though. I do think Penn State wins. Yeah.
Now, before we leave, I know the hockey fans of Spartan Nation would be upset if I didn't flex and beat my chest and say that's right. Hockey. We got to live for something here, Zach. I mean, you guys are like fine. Well, I had to at the very end, because it makes Michigan State fans smile, and we also got basketball to smile about too. Like that's all fun and well, but I just had to feel something this week as we get back into football conversations. I need for dopamine I could inject in this fan base. I have to do it, even at the expense of you.
At least we both have hockey, right? Both of our programs will be there down the stretch. If that's a Frozen Four matchup, one for the ages. Beaver Stadium. That game is going to be in Beaver Stadium. The next game.
Ooh, fun! Yeah. Oh God, I didn't know that. Oh wow,
end of January.
That's gonna be awesome. My goodness gracious. So. Until then, though, and you guys are fine at wrestling, right? Like, isn't that you guys are into that?
So I mean, it's somewhat interesting. We talk about it a little over on my show.
There we go.
No, but I don't like that Michigan State handled Penn State the way that they did on the ice rink this time around. Again, 5-0 is embarrassing when Penn State is such an offensive team. If this was 6-4 or 7-4, right? Because the defense is my biggest question mark about this Penn State team in regards to getting to the final. But when the offense gets shut out with Gavin McKenna, I know they're a little banged up because they don't have Aiden Fink, but that's no goals when you have Misa, you have McKenna, right? There's still a Serrato, there's still a nucleus there. So props to Michigan State for just doing what they did, handling business on the home ice. But get ready for the Beaver Stadium crowd. That's if you can make it in for that, because I'm going to be at that game. If you can make it in for that, that's the stadium ice hockey game. That's going to be incredible. Both the men's and women's teams are going to be out there on Beaver Stadium on the same day. So I can't wait for that. Right, I'm so glad they were able to pull that off, and that could be a 1-2 or another top 5 matchup when we get to that point.
That's going to be awesome. Guys, Spartan fans, Nittany Lions fans, no matter where you're coming from, guys, thank you so much for listening to both, Locked On Spartans, Locked On Nittany Lions, part of the #1 ranked sport podcasting network. That's right, the Locked On Podcast Network. Guys, until next time, take care of yourselves. Again, go green, and we are whatever. Guys, love you all. We'll see you later.